The FIA World Endurance Championship is back. At last! With the delayed prologue now finished and the team's first day back at school, let's have a look at what the first impressions have been arriving at Qatar for all the Hypercar and LMGT3 teams. Firstly, let's start with the reigning Hypercar champions, Toyota, and their LMGT3 effort with the Isotta Lexus. The Japanese team had a minor lineup change with Nick Debris taking the seat of Pachito Lopez in the number 7 car. Apart from that, they set the second most amount of laps during the prologue with a total of 571 completed laps. However, they had a lot of issues when needing to set a quick time as they really struggled to lap mid-41s. Not only that, but it was on day 2 where you could really tell they had some big problems. Normally, you would see Toyota doing about 60 laps more or less than the other teams. This time, however, they kept doing around 8 laps and coming back to the pit lane, showing how they couldn't really test the race program. Whether this was just sandbagging or real problems for Toyota is yet to be seen, but it for sure wasn't the best look for them. On the other category, the Isotta Lexus team had a very clean preseason all along. After needing to make some changes to the car to make sure it was within the legal limits, they went out on track and showed how a nearly 8-year-old car could still go head to head with the new ones. A best time of a 1:54.5 for the number 87 Lexus was enough to let the people know that they weren't here to play. Next up, we have both the Hypercar and LMGT3 efforts from AF Corse. This year in Hypercar, the Italian team has brought a third car, the number 83. While technically not a factory effort, it is still run by the Orlan-sponsored AF Corse team. The number 50 and 51 lineups remain completely unchanged, while the yellow number 83 will run a very impressive lineup with Robert Kubica, Robert Schwartzman and Yifei Yi. The Cavallino completed a total of 842 laps, making it the most out of any other brand. They, however, didn't look to have any problems like the Japanese did, with Fuoco, Yi and Giovinazzi breaking the 141 barrier. This could be Ferrari's first real attack against the Toyota supremacy. On the other side of the pit lane, the LMGT3 effort also had an amazing preseason test, setting the second best lap time from the whole prologue with the number 54, made clear that the 296 GT3 is one of the favourites for the title. The brand that has been mentioned the most during this prologue though is Porsche. Their Hypercar efforts are run by 3 different teams. Mainly, we have Team Penske, whose lineup remains unchanged apart from a little swap between Dane Cameron, who now will race at IMSA, and Matt Campbell, who takes his place in the number 5 Penske. Makowiecki turned out to be the quickest driver during the test, being the only one that was able to set a 1.40.4. While they are still preseason test, it did look very good for the American outfit. Then we have Jota Sport. This season they will run a 2-car program with the number 12 and number 38. The number 12 will be driven by Will Stevens, Callum Ilott and Norman Nato, and it was actually Ilott who set the team's fastest lap during the prologue with a 1:46, making it the 3rd best lap time. Meanwhile, the number 38 will be driven by Phil Hansen, Oliver Rasmussen and the one-time F1 World Champion Jenson Button. It was actually Jenson who set their quickest time as well, a 1:40.9, which was the 7th fastest time from the tests. Lastly, we have the Proton competition team. Running the number 99 car will be Neil Janney and Harry Tincknell next to the rookie Julian Andlauer. They had a very silent pre-season, not breaking into top 10 best times, and their run program wasn't the best, setting just 176 laps. There is also the LMGT3 effort, which is run by Monthly Racing. Their GT3 wasn't the quickest out on track, but with both cars having set a decent amount of laps, they might be able to surprise some. Cadillac's 1-car program from last season has only suffered one minor change, the leave of Richard Westbrook. The team that runs the car, which is Chip Ganassi Racing, decided that they wouldn't replace it with a permanent driver, but instead they would be swapping drivers in and out. Qatar's seat has gone to Sebastian Bourdais, but the only other race confirmed by Chip Ganassi Racing is Le Mans, where the Spaniard Alex Palou will take the wheel. Both Alex Lynn and Errol Bamber were able to break into the top 10 best times from the prologue. Lynn setting a 1:45 and Bamber setting a 1:41.2. Bourdais, on the other hand, was a little bit more discreet but still pretty close to the other 2 drivers. W Racing Team is a veteran WEC squad, but the brand they run, which is BMW, isn't really that experienced in the World Endurance Championship. The Hypercar effort had a very shy preseason because even though they set 527 laps, they weren't able to go quicker than a 141.6. They will run a two-car effort. The number 15, driven by Dries Banthor, Marco Wittmann and the GT3 ace Raffaele Marcello, while the other car, the number 20, will be driven by Sheldon Barthelinde, Robin Freins and René Rast. The LMGT3 effort is the strongest out of them all, with their driver lineups being very talented. While not setting a lap good enough to break into the top 5, it was 3 of the BMW drivers that were able to get within 1 second of the quickest time set in LMGT3. That best time was set by a new brand in the World Endurance Championship, McLaren. The English outfit, run by United Autosport, has made a great impression, setting the best time of the whole prologue, a 1:54.4. While BMW is the favourite to take the title, McLaren remains a brand that will be right there fighting against them. Next up is my favourite hypercar effort, Isotta Fraschini. While they were the slowest car, being 4 seconds off the best time, and the team that ran the least amount of laps with 153, it should be mentioned that they are highly affected by the BOP charts, only being behind Toyota in terms of maximum weight. A whopping 55 kilograms were added to the car with some power restrictions, so the car's potential is still quite huge. But running two silvers in the form of Carl Bennett and Antonio Serravalle alongside Jean Corvenet was quite the risky choice. The Lion arrived at Qatar with just one goal: to make sure the 9x8 last race is a good one. In case you didn't know, Peugeot will introduce an Evo version for the Imola race, meaning that the Qatar 1812 km will be the last race for the 9x8. Setting 501 laps with the team's best lap time being a 1:41.3, you could say that they had a very satisfying test. The lineups have also suffered a minor shuffle. The number 93 now raced by Mikkel Jensen, Nico Müller and Jean-Eric Verne, while the number 94 is run by Paul di Resta, Luc Duval and the rookie Stoffel Bandorn. Lamborghini is another brand that has never featured in the World Endurance Championship. Run by the Aaron Lynx team in both Hypercar and LMGT3, the brand new SC63 LMDH wasn't exactly at the top of the timesheets. Driven by Edoardo Mortara, Daniel Kvyat and Mirko Bortolotti, the car just did 196 laps, and with a car that hasn't had a lot of track time, that isn't ideal. Not only that, but even if they didn't have any issues, their pace wasn't exactly the best. They could only set a 1:42.5, making it the 8th fastest car out of the 9 in the hypercar class. It must be said, however, that we are looking at a brand new car, and time should be given for the Italian bull to see them somewhere near the top. In LMGT3, however, Lamborghini were higher on the timing screens. A 1:55 flat set by the number 60 car and a 1:55.3 set by the number 85 Aaron Dames maybe wasn't the quickest, but it did leave some good feelings for the team. The last of the hypercar teams is Alpine. Their two entries, the number 35, driven by Paul Obchetan, Ferdinand Habsburg and Charles Mélesy, and the number 36, driven by Mick Schumacher, Mathieu Baxivier and Nicolas Lapierre, had a very solid test. 467 laps done in total was quite impressive, but with an important engine issue on the 35 and the relatively slow pace matching the Lamborghini, you can't say that they will be a challenger for the win early on. Aston Martin will be joining the hypercar class in 2025, but for now all the focus is on their LMGT3 effort. Managed by both Heart of Racing and D-Station Racing, the Vantage GT3 Evo had a great test. 4th quickest in LMGT3 for the number 27 Heart of Racing with a 1:54.5 was great, and the D-Station 777 was only a 10th behind. If you don't have the same memory as Nemo, you probably remember that I said Proton was running a Porsche in hypercar. So you would think that the logical thing for them to do is to run Porsche in LMGT3. And that will be the case only if this were the European Le Mans Series. Proton became the official Ford factory team for the 2024 season in the World Endurance Championship, but running a brand new GT3 car had its issues. It was the car that ran the least amount of laps in the prologue from the LMGT3 category, and not only that, but it also struggled a little bit in terms of times, as they were the only car that wasn't able to get within a second of the best time. Finally, we have the other new GT3 car, the Corvette. The team that runs the cars is TF Sport, which left Aston Martin at the very end of the last season. They were very strong compared to Ford, however, with a lot of laps on the board and the 5th fastest time from the whole LMGT3 field, a 1:54.6. With all that being said, it's up to all of you WEC fans to make your predictions heading into the season. Will we see Toyota lose the crown after more than 5 years? Could we maybe see an LMDH finally win a race? All the questions are there waiting for a reply, but we won't be able to get an answer until the season is on the way. So, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and I hope to see you all next time around. Bye bye.